The $1.9 trillion stimulus bill passed by Congress today will extend unemployment benefits, give $1,400 stimulus checks to many Americans, and help vaccination efforts across the country, among other things. But it passed without a single Republican vote. I asked 7th District Representative Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat, about what that means going forward.
Congressman, tell us, this $1.9 trillion stimulus or pandemic relief package has lots of things that people will appreciate: direct payments of $1,400 to people earning up to $70,000, extension of unemployment benefits till September. What about the fact that it was passed really without a single Republican vote? What does that say about bipartisanship going forward? And is this package just simply bloated?
So as it relates to bipartisanship going forward, I think what's important is that as the president's been working on the American Recovery Plan, certainly as members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, have engaged in this, the president has listened to opinions on both sides of the aisle. In the House, at least in our first vote, we didn't have Republican support, and certainly we saw the same in the Senate. I think notably, this bill is about meeting the urgency of the moment to continue the momentum moving forward. There has been bipartisan support in terms of the within communities across the country, people recognizing the need for greater support to vaccinations. And so when I say this is about continuing the momentum, this is about pushing the gas on what we've seen in Virginia. Right now, we have a place where the announcements are that we're able to do 50,000 shots across the Commonwealth a day. That's incredible. And in light of the CDC's recommendation that people who have received their vaccinations can gather in small groups, that's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So investments in vaccine, it's part of that momentum of beating this virus. Investments in testing, that's part and parcel of our ability to really stop the continued spread of this virus. Our investments in assisting those who continue to face unemployment, that's about continuing to stabilize the economy, supports to schools and localities, and in our district in particular, support to the E-rate programs that have been so valuable to the rural communities within the 7th District of Virginia that have been incredibly impacted, particularly as students have been virtual, hybrid, or in a back and forth sense. So it's about continuing that momentum to be able to get to a much brighter economic and health place into the future.
But going forward, the way it was passed through reconciliation, and now whether the Democrats undo the filibuster or not going forward, meaning you only need 51 votes in the Senate instead of 60, what does it say about Democratic priorities, such as perhaps reforming police or enacting sort of sweeping voting rights legislation, given the raft of laws that are bound to come in some states now that Democrats say restrict the right to vote?
Well, I'm always a fan of bipartisanship. I believe that that's how we make long-lasting legislation, by building broader coalitions around issues that are important. It's why I'm a member of a bipartisan group, 28 Democrats, 28 Republicans, who are focused on building up areas of common ground and common goals. You mentioned police reform. Notably, the House has passed a bill that we know is not going to move in the Senate, given the 60 vote threshold to move it towards a vote for passage. So I've been a part of a bipartisan working group, bicameral working group, to really break down that discussion and say, what are some justice-related reforms that we can make that will garner bipartisan, bicameral support and actually make laws? I'm interested in governing, and we do that through coalition building. So my hope is that we'll continue to find those places of agreement, find those places where we can, really work to govern and not just focus on some of the messaging.
What does it mean for other Democratic priorities, such as gun safety laws or protections for unions?
So as it relates to gun safety, and we're voting on a bill that is focused on background checks. And so there's been a lot of discussion about this bill. Currently, if you go to purchase a firearm at a federally licensed point of sale, like a Cabela's or a Walmart, you fill out a simple piece of paper, that's your background check. That law applies when you purchase a firearm at a federally licensed point of sale. Now, beyond that, at other sellers, such as gun shows or internet sales, there's a patchwork of laws state to state. So the goal of H.R. 8, which is the background check bill, is to apply that same standard across the board so that there aren't loopholes. This is an issue that has bipartisan support across the country. It has bipartisan support within the House of Representatives. And my hope is that as we have a reasonable conversation about ensuring that people with a history of violence or those on the terrorist watch list or those who are already prohibited per law from purchasing firearms at a federally licensed point of sale are not able to essentially skirt that law by making a purchase someplace else.
All right, and we are reaching out to Republican Congressman Bob Whitman's campaign, to his office, to get the Republican side of that equation in Congress. Let's send it out to